Hello, my dear students, my well wishers. Welcome to my channel, An Easy Step to English Grammar by Sukumar Boiragi, a native speaker from India. However, my tonight's topic of discussion is do as directed or transformation of sentences. Let us start. Before making my introduction lengthy, my first example is he occupied a seat by the window. Number one, he occupied a seat by the window. Okay, he occupied a seat by the window. Immediately, two English soldiers got into the train compartment. Got into the train compartment. Now let us read these two sentences. He occupied a seat by the window. Immediately, two English soldiers got into the train compartment. Suppose you are asked to combine the sentences into one complex sentence by using no sooner. Okay. What should be the construction? No sooner had he occupied. Remember that no sooner is a negative adverbial, and when there is negative adverbial, you must use the auxiliary verb just after the negative adverbial, and there is no exception. For example, answer: no sooner had he occupied a seat or did he occupy a seat by the window, then no sooner must be followed by then two English soldiers got into the train compartment. Got into the train compartment. Okay. There may be two constructions. I have already mentioned that no sooner is a negative adverbial and it must be followed by either had or did. If you use had, the finite verb or the principal verb must be the past participle form, and if you use do or did, the principal verb or the finite verb must be the present form. This is the rule. You see, no sooner had he occupied a seat, or no sooner did he occupy a seat by the window, either had he occupied or did he occupy a seat by the window, then two English soldiers got into the train compartment. This should be the construction. And if you are asked to use hardly, suppose you have been asked the same sentence. I am showing you how to use hardly. If you are asked to use hardly, what will you write? Hardly, answer. Hardly had he occupied a seat by the window, when, if you use hardly, you will have to use when. When two English soldiers got into the train compartment. Okay. Now I have shown you three types of constructions with the same sentences. No sooner had followed by then, or no sooner did followed by then, or hardly when. Clear? And the same sentences can be used by as soon as. For example, just follow me very meticulously, very attentively, and very carefully. For example, as soon as he occupied a seat, as soon as he occupied a seat by the window, two English soldiers got into the train compartment. Full stop. So there is no difference between as soon as or no sooner had or hardly when. The same construction can be done, but you will have to keep it in mind that when you use no sooner, you will have to use then. Okay? And if you use hardly, you will have to use when, and if you use as soon as, there is no problem. Okay? Now let us go to another problem. Number two, very few boys very few boys in the class were as smart as Rajam. Suppose you have been asked to turn it into a comparative degree. Suppose comparative degree. Okay? Very few boys in the class were as smart as Rajam. Then what should be the comparative degree? Rajam was more smart than most other boys in the class. Clear? Rajam was more smart than most other. When there is very few, you must use most other in comparative degree. Just follow me. Rajam was more smart than most other boys in the class. Okay? It is an example of comparative degree. But if you are asked to convert it or transform it into superlative degree, then what will you write? What will you write? What should be your answer? Rajam was one of the most smart boys. Rajam was one of the most smart boys in the class. Okay? So, the first example is positive degree. Second example is comparative degree. More smart than. Rajam was one of the most smart boys in the class. It is an example of superlative degree. Okay? Now, let us go to the third example. All these grammatical items are meant for Madhyamik, Higher Secondary, CBSE, ICSE and competitive exams. There is no alternative. So try to follow my class very carefully. Number 3. My third example is, he is proud of his garden. He is proud of his garden. Okay? You see that proud is followed by preposition of. That means he takes pride in his garden. Suppose you have been asked to use the noun form of proud. Suppose you have been asked, use the noun form. Okay? Proud is adjective. It is well known to all that proud is adjective, and you have been asked to use the noun form of proud. So you have to write answer. He takes pride. He takes pride in his garden. Okay? So pride is the noun form. It is noun. So pride is the noun form. It is noun and it is adjective. Okay? He takes pride and the verb is takes. Suppose in your exam you have been asked to use the verb form of pride. Suppose you have been asked to use the verb form of pride. Okay? Then how will you use the verb form of pride? Answer. He prides himself on his garden. He prides himself on his garden. You see that he is third person singular number. So S or es has been used as the suffix prides, then himself, then on. Appropriate position on. Pride oneself on. Pride oneself on. Again I am repeating. Pride oneself on. It is the verb form. It is the verb form. Clear? So all these are very useful for all the competitive exams, CBSE, ICSE, ISC and Madhyamik exams. Now let us go to the fourth example. The fourth example. Okay. How many dogs did you see? How many dogs did you see? How many dogs did you see in the haunted house? In the haunted house. Okay? How many dogs did you see in the haunted house? Suppose you have been asked to transform it into passive voice. Suppose you have been asked to convert it into passive voice. Okay? So how many will remain? How many? Dogs subject, dogs object, you is subject, C is verb. So it is an example of interrogative sentence, and how will you convert it into passive voice? C. Answer. How many dogs? How many dogs were seen by you? How many dogs were seen by you in the haunted house? In the haunted house. You see that dogs have been used as the object, and the object has become subject. The object of the active voice has become subject, and as it is the past tense, it is in the past tense. Dogs is plural number, and the forms of before are am is are, and its past form was and were. So were, and the finite verb will be the past participle form. So how many dogs were seen by you, preposition by, and you become object. By preposition plus object. You was subject in the active form, and in the passive form it becomes object by one in the haunted house. So how many dogs were seen by you in the haunted house? Suppose you have been asked to transform it into an assertive sentence. Suppose you have been asked, please convert it into an assertive sentence, because it is an interrogative sentence. Suppose you have been asked, then what will you write? I want to know, answer. I want to know. I want to know the number of dogs. I want to know the number of dogs seen by you in the haunted house. In the haunted house. You see, I want to know the number of dogs seen by you in the haunted house. It is an example of assertive sentence. So, I have shown you two items. One is from active to passive, and from passive to assertive sentence. Clear? And it is my last example. Come to the fifth example. Come to the fifth example. All these are very important examples. No man is immortal. No man is immortal. All these are very common topics. No man is immortal. Suppose it is a negative sentence. It is an example of negative sentence, and you have been asked to convert it into an affirmative sentence. Affirmative sentence. Okay? Then what is the method? The method is all men are mortal. All men are mortal. So it is the theory that immortal becomes mortal. All men are mortal, or every man is mortal. Okay? Now let us stop here, and I promise that the next day or the next night I will give you more examples of transformation of sentences, including degree, including combining two or more than two simple sentences into one simple sentence, into complex sentence, into compound sentence, what not, everything. And let us stop here. Your exams are knocking at the door, and these are not only for your exams but also for your writing English, for speaking English, and at the same time to compete in your competitive exam. Good night. And if you think that all these grammatical items are very, very useful for you, don't forget to subscribe my channel, to like, to comment and share. Thanking all of you. Good night.